Hello guys, Sebastian here. In my recent poll, most of you wanted to get more insight into mechanics that make you better at the game. So today we're looking into delays and how you can use them to play around hand traps or certain interactions. This is especially important right now because of the format we're in. The video will consist of 3 parts. First, a short summary of the format. Second, generic tips to keep in mind regarding delays. And third, actual gameplay examples going first with theory on FTK. This might also help you to better understand how the FTK works. So let's get right into it. To sum up the format, let's look at what my fellow top player council member -1 wrote, because to be honest, I found it kinda funny and fitting at the same time. Much like the German-Soviet non-aggression pact of 1939, Therion and Destiny Hero exist in a passive-aggressive symbiosis. Hand traps are not very reliable against Therion, but are incredibly necessary to combat Destiny Hero. Board breakers do nothing to Destiny Hero, but are necessary to deal with Therion on turn 1. Much like Poland, you can prepare for a battle on one front, but not for both. Other decks are considered for the meta, but it feels like a formality to be honest. Therion is performing nuclear fusion, the Destiny Hero hand loop is performing nuclear fission, and while there's scientific difference between the two, it doesn't really matter if all you can do is hide in a refrigerator. What this means for the format is that you either decide to play board breakers and risk losing to FTKs, or play tons of hand traps and risk losing to pure Therion because they set up negations through your hand traps, even if you stop them from getting to their full board. This means that hand traps will see a lot of play, and playing through them correctly is really crucial if you want to have any chances of performing well in any competitive setting. I won't go into details about the relevant decks here, as this is more of a generic guide. If you want more information on the current format, you can click the link at the top of the video to get to the overview of the current best decks and what they do. So let's get down to the basics of delay reading first. Delay occurs when your opponent has something that can be activated in response to an action you take. You can see delay when the hourglass at the top right of the screen lights up. Whether the toggle button is turned on or off doesn't really matter here. The only difference that does is how long the hourglass will light up. I still think it's correct to turn your toggle off if you know exactly where to interrupt your opponent, and just turn the toggle button back on shortly before that step is reached. It might make your opponent misplay if he misses the delay because it is very short. For example, when you go first, summon a monster and the hourglass lights up, your opponent is holding a hand trap. Also, if your skill gives you a card into the graveyard at the start of your turn and the hourglass lights up before the main phase, your opponent has a hand trap. Just a quick note before going into it, so you don't read delay where there is none. Multiple choice effects give your opponent a prompt which effect you use, so don't think your opponent has delay when he actually doesn't. Going first, the delay is usually a hand trap. Depending on when the delay occurs, you can have an educated guess or even exactly know which hand trap your opponent holds. The first thing to keep in mind is, what deck are you up against? Most skills or character plus card count combinations give away what matchup you are going up against, even when going first. For example, if you see a Kaiba with a regular skill, you're going up against Blue Eyes, Dino or Thunder Dragon. If the card count is below 30, it is not Thunder Dragon. If the card count is around 20, it is Dino. If there's delay in draw phase and standby phase, it is Thunder Dragon, because Thunder Dragon Dark has delay in hand. If there's delay on your first action in main phase, there is a good chance it is Dino, because your opponent might hold Miscellaneous Sorrows. You can make sure of that by setting a spell before activating it as your first action in the main phase, because at this point nothing else is activatable. Other skills just activate and give the deck away instantly, like skills that give summoning restrictions like Drytron or ABC skill. But why is that important, you might ask? Knowing what you are up against and having a general idea of the deck gives you good information on how many mandatory main deck slots they have for their engine and what non-engine they might play. For example, Galaxy and Destiny Hero normally just play 20 or 21 cards, since they need a lower card count for their game plan. Hero tries to go down to 5 cards with dominance to hand debut, and Galaxy Eyes wants a low number to have the best chances to see their good starters. Since both decks run few cards, they also don't have a lot of room for non-engine, so the likelihood of having to deal with 1-to-1 trade hand traps like Veil or Imperm is rather low, allowing you to play into them without getting punished for it. Non-engineered decks with low card counter running are either big equalizers like Droplet, Dark Ruler, Lava Golem or Sphere Mode, or hand traps with major impact like Nibiru or Droll, because their engine requirements don't allow for many non-engine slots. The second part of knowing what you're up against is important because of engine-specific cards. If you're going up against a rank 8 deck and the Hourglass only lights up after you summoned a Dragon Xyz monster, that is Primal Dragon in your opponent's hand. There was another matchup where this was the key to winning going first, not that long ago, the B-Trooper mirror match. Because if the skill didn't light up before Therion existed, you were either up against Sky Striker or B-Trooper. And since Sky Striker normally plays a lower card count, you knew when you were facing B-Troopers. In a mirror match you needed to delay using your fusion spell until you either had Supply Soldier in hand or the counter trap set from skill 2 to play around Retaliating Sea, which was played at 3 copies. Just activating the fusion first by going for a Sting Lancer line would lose you tons of important resources and cause you to lose the matchup, which is otherwise very easy to win going first. So let's get into hand traps and how to read them. DD Crow is very easy to read. Before summoning monsters, activate a spell. If you didn't search a card or summon a monster and there's delay on resolution, it is most likely DD Crow. Examples include King Sarcophagus, Condolence Puppet, and Argos System. Ghost Bell can easily be differentiated from the other hand traps. If there was no delay for previous actions and delay lights up when an effect is activated that would move a card from graveyard or has the potential to summon from the graveyard, it is Ghost Bell. Examples include B-Trooper Formation, the Gimmick Puppet Graveyard Recursion effects, Galaxy Spiral Dragon, Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer and Dominance, but also Kyberman, the Shinobird Ritual or the Red Eyes Ritual spell. Droll is also really easy to recognize because if there's delay on resolution of a search, most of the time the opponent has Droll. In most of the cases you don't have to guess because the opponent most likely activates it right there. It is still relevant information because if there's still delay after your opponent activates Droll, there's a second Droll in the opponent's hand because Droll is not once per turn. Examples for checking for Droll include field spells that search on activation like Therion Disc Colosseum, Depower, insert the discard effect and many more. If there's something activatable as soon as you control effect monsters, chances are high it is either Veiler or Impermanence or Ghost Mourner. Those three can be differentiated. Mourner is obvious because the delay only occurs on special summon. If you summoned monsters into delay before and then link them off into something untargetable, like you do in B-Trooper, you can have the exact read that is one of those 3 cards. There are 2 easy ways to distinguish between Veiler and Impermanence. The first is to see if the delay is gone if something gets put on your opponent's field, like Therion or rank 8 decks can do with Primal or the Valence field spell. If the delay is gone, it is Impermanence. The second is relevant if you're playing a Floodgate monster, because opponents might hold Imperm for their turn in that case. A prime example of this would be Trap Tricks that did this to deal with Scary Mouth before Resonance Insect was hit. In that case, you see the delay in end phase, so you know it is Imperm. Because of this, it is better to go for generic boards or set up protection for your Floodgate if there's Impermanence delay and your opponent doesn't hand trap you. Next up is Nibiru. If there's no delay when you start playing, but as soon as you performed your 5th summon, delay lights up on every action you take, your opponent has Nibiru. Keep in mind that monsters summoned from skills do not count towards the 5 summons. If there's delay from draw phase onwards, your opponent might have Lancea. This is playing Drytron and partially on decks that are scared of the FTKs, since it can stop Vion from searching for Poly and Silent Boots from searching for a rank up magic. I don't recommend running it though, because it is useless into non-FTKs and some Therion FTKs run the Gimmick Puppet Dragon Age, which FTKs through Lancea if there's no other hand trap. If there's only delay on Link summons and not on any other summons, your opponent has Phantasme. While it is rare nowadays, you can play around it a bit better by just keeping one Link monster up to not give your opponent more draws to draw into more hand traps. And lastly, there's the gameplay section. I'll show you examples of Therion FTK and how I read hand traps. The first replay is just to show you how to FTK of any Therion name, the others play through hand traps. Alright, so Descent doesn't look that great, but it's still FTK. But Descent cannot play around hand traps. So in this situation, we need Alazia. We still need to get Lily into rotation. And it's also 26 card Destiny Hero, so you may be on some more attacks. If that happens, well, I hope it's board breakers. So we cannot afford to keep our hand traps. In this combo we will combo with stand up. So right now we don't activate the Lily effect yet. First we need to grab this. I think we're lucky and there's no hand trap. Now we need to grab a regular. Because there's no hand trap, we can FTK. So we need to send stand up, we need to send another regular, and I think in this case regulars is fine. So we need to get Lily into graveyard. And in this scenario we don't need to clear our monster zones. So at this point we're insulated. We need to grab Summoner Monk. We don't need Nibiru anymore. Now we need to go for a spell. So Reaper gets Lily. Now Lily activates. Very important, Center Lily. Grab a spell. You won't activate it. Then Summoner Monk. No toggle off. It's annoying, but you need to keep it on. In case there's anything you missed. So now the order is important. First we need to use the Raid Raptor. Okay, he saw it. But in this case, first you need to use the Raid Raptor to burn for 3k. Then you activate the stand up. Stand up attaches the irregular from graveyard to your Therion monster. Because then you have the open zone, which allows you to combo with Transmigration in hand. So you're still safe from hand traps, even though you didn't open regulars. And you saw our hand was not that great. Double hand trap, Transmigration, and a level 7. So not even an 8-2 combo, but because of stand up, it's still a 1-card combo. And you see, if you read the toggle right, it's very easy to play through hand traps. It's just very important to read the toggle. Okay, so this is a Machina pile. We have full combo to play through hand traps. We show regulars. We get a spell into rotation because we need one right now. We activate to get Lily into rotation. So there's no DD Crow, there was no delay. Veiler check. There's no Veiler. Draw check. Death roll. Second roll check. no second rule. So the only card that could hurt us right now is Nibiru. But there's no way to play around it right now. Because we need to discard on Nibiru. Summon number 3. So yeah, with a regular hand, 2 hand trap stops this FTK, but we should still be able to FTK here easily if there's no Nibiru. Because we check for everything else. So this to the opponent's board. We need to grab a regular and send another regular to graveyard. Because we don't have another 8 in hand, we also send stand up. And the third card can be anything. I prefer Foom here. Just because in case there's anything I missed. So let's go on with 7 Tachyon. Get Summoner Monk. That's why we grabbed the spell earlier. And at this point we can toggle off, because there's nothing else. So let's stand up, and now the rank up magic don't give us so many activation prompts. Now we burn for 3k. And at this point it's important that you activate the stand up, because to summon irregular from the spell trap zone you need an open monster zone. So now we activate stand up, get the irregular in the spell trap zone. We can turn back on the toggle in case there's anything. Because if there's nothing, we still have Foom as an equip. And now we burn for the last 1k. GG's. Okay, so this is FTK through pretty much every hand trap. So to play around hand traps, first we need to review this. Do we need a spell? Yes, we want a spell, because we can already combo. So we need to get Lily into graveyard pretty much every time. So this was the first checkpoint, this was for Crow. So there's no DD Crow. Next one will be Vader. There was delay, so there's Vader or Imperm. So now Lily activates effect. Draw checkpoint, no draw. We have 7 tachyons, so we don't really need to keep the Nibiru because we can safely FTK. This needs to be protected, so if he has double hand trap, now's the time. Okay, so this is number 1. We sent the irregular here. Okay, only 1 hand trap. Now we're safe. This to the opponent's side. Get skill. Need to add irregular to hand because we don't have any other body right now. So in case there's something else, we send this. We need to send stand up because we need to attach to regulars. And now, because we have 1 body less in hand, we go into 107 here. Yeah, sure. Actually, going into 107 was unnecessary because we need to shuffle back the transmigration. And now we just fucked up. Kinda. It's still solvable. But you don't want to do it in this order, in case there's some hand trap. But because we know that there is none, the only thing that could be there is imperm, and we play around it by doing it in this order. So Summoner Monk gets to Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight gets us to a rank up magic. At this point we can toggle off, so we don't get a delay from the rank up magic. Because the opponent is out of hand traps anyways, and we just burn for 3k with the Raid Raptor Axis monsters. If you're still watching at this point, thank you. Also, let me know in the comments what topic I should cover next. Until next time, see you guys.